Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC, and your daily reminder that the Reds are joint top of the league according to Gary Neville's specifications as to what constitutes top of the league. And speaking of Gary Neville, just spare a quick thought for Gary Neville today. He's going to be going through some stuff after Manchester United were knocked out of the EFL Cup by Grimsby. They went 2-0 down, fought back, scored a last-minute equaliser, and then lost on penalties. And it's actually just much funnier that they lost on penalties. If they just lost 2-0 or 2-1, yes, it would have been very funny. But the fact that they fought back into it and then lost on penalties, I think 12-11, and the two players that missed were Cunha, who, if he'd scored, they would have won the penalty shootout. And then Brian Mbomo missed as well. He missed his second penalty, having scored his first one. Just hilarity all round. And poor old Gary will be very upset. Now, it does mean they can focus entirely on the Premier League up until January when they get knocked out of the FA Cup in the third round. And maybe that helps them in the league. Maybe that pushes them an extra place or two in the league and they might finish 7th instead of 9th or something like that. But yeah, it's pretty fucking funny. Liverpool. This is Anfield. Tell us that Harvey Elliott is now likely to stay at Liverpool. The primary reason for this would be that we haven't had an offer for him. We've had inquiries about him, but nobody has actually made an offer for him. The Leipzig thing has been circling for a couple of weeks now, and there are reports that he's agreed personal terms and is happy to go there. But obviously, he would be going there as a Xavi Simons replacement, and as yet, Xavi Simons hasn't left. Because Chelsea need to sell players in order to afford him, because UEFA have told them if they don't end this transfer window with a net balance in the green or in the black, they won't be allowed to register their players for European competition this coming season. So anyone they sign this season would not be allowed to play in European competition unless they make a profit in this window. So they still have some players to shift. With Christopher Nkunku looking likely to go to AC Milan and potentially Nicholas Jackson going to Newcastle, because Strand Larsen, it appears, is going to be staying at Wolves, although we'll see. That would open up the money for Chelsea to buy Xavi Simons, which then I think will lead to Leipzig coming back in for Harvey. If it's not Chelsea, there has been reports in the last 24 hours or so that Spurs have interest in Xavi Simons. Now, I'm not sure Xavi Simons is a particularly good fit in a Thomas Frank team because he's atrocious off the ball, and Thomas Frank has very high demands on his players off the ball. Now, Xavi Simons is young enough that maybe it can be coached. He certainly at times has shown a desire to dig in, but for the most part, he is largely terrible off the ball. Maybe Spurs buy him and that then triggers Leipzig. We'll see. It's pretty clear Xavi Simons is going to leave this summer because of the weird contract that Leipzig gave him. It does just appear to be a matter of when, and is just then time for them to turn around and get Harvey done. We'll see. I wouldn't buy into this story that he's now likely to stay. I think it's a possibility he stays, whereas all summer it looked like a certainty that he'd go. But West Ham's interests never led to anything. I believe he said no to Crystal Palace. They wanted him for Gahey, a kind of a straight swap where both clubs could inflate the fees a little bit. And he said no to that one. There's been rumours of Villa. There's been rumours of Spurs. I think the only way he could go to Villa is if Morgan Rogers was coming to Liverpool, because Villa financially are not in a good position from a profit and sustainability position. When you look at their summer so far, it's pretty clear they're basically just kind of scratching around and trying to find small ways to improve their squad. Evan Gessend is their biggest signing of the summer. I think they paid 26 million for him. So that goes on their books as your 5.2 million a year. So 5.2 million for this year is all that is. They did sign that Turkish centre back. I think he cost 8 million. So that's less than 2 million for this year. And then they've got somebody else. They brought in didn't they bring in a backup goalkeeper? I think he was free. So Villa's spend for this summer, from an accounting point of view, at the moment is less than 10 million, which just shows the depth of the hole they dug themselves in terms of profit and sustainability. Because let's be honest, they're a Champions League caliber team. And they've got a manager who's one of the 15 best in Europe. I think that's fair. Unai Emery, I think that's about fair. You know, they've got some really good players. I mean, they wanted to sell Emi Martinez and then go and buy a goalkeeper. No bids came in for Martinez, so they couldn't buy a new goalkeeper. They wanted a centre-back, didn't land one. They wanted a right-back, didn't land one. There was talk of wanting a winger. Actually, and then you think if they sold Jacob Murphy as well, or Jacob Ramsey as well. So Villa are massively net profit on this window because all of that money for Ramsey will go onto the books this year. They also, I think, loaned Leon Bailey with an option to buy. They loaned some other player as well that I can't think of. So Villa are going to have a massive profit for this summer, but they need it. They would need a big sale, I think, to get someone like Harvey Elliott in. We'll see what happens, though. Like, yes, we're getting tight. Today is the 28th. Window closes on the 1st. But I wouldn't get yourselves too panicked just yet about anything, whether it's outgoings or incomings. A lot can happen in 4 days. A lot can happen, especially when personal terms and things like that are already agreed. And medicals tend to be a little less stringent when it gets down to the crunch of it on deadline day. Why Liverpool are planning to keep Stefan Bajcetic. So Paul Joyce reporting yesterday Liverpool are intending to keep Bajcetic. And part of the reasoning was that Tyler Morton has gone to Lyon and James McConnell has gone to Ajax. So we're short in midfield. Tyler Morton played 260 minutes for the first team last year. So, I mean, you know, good player and certainly was underused last year. But it's not like he's leaving a massive gap for someone to come in and fill. Then you look at James McConnell. Last season, I want to say he played around the same. It might have been a little bit more. James McConnell, 24-25 season. 120 minutes in the FA Cup. 90 minutes in the Champions League. There's 210. About 30 minutes in the EPL Cup. So they actually played less. So between them, they played 500 minutes. 500 minutes. That's why we're keeping Stefan Bajcetic for 500 minutes. Bullshit. We're keeping him because there was no offers. Liverpool wanted to sell him this summer and there was no offers. And the reason there was no offers is because in 23-24, he missed the vast majority of the season with an injury. Then he had 2 failed loans. And people can try and dress up the Las Palmas thing with bad faith data all they want. He wasn't good there. Their fans, you can ask them, were massively underwhelmed by him. The Salzburg thing was a disaster, though that wasn't his fault. Neither was the Las Palmas thing. Let's be clear. He was played out of position for 6 or 7 games at centre-back. Not all of the games. He started midfield and then get shifted backwards. The team was a mess. They were going down when he got there. And they had zero control in any game. So they just ended up running around like a bunch of headless chickens trying to catch the ball. So, yes, he has decent per 90 numbers, but it's also because it's a really small sample size and because they were constantly out of possession. So, yeah, he got tackles and interceptions, but then look at his passing percentage and it's horrific. And the reason it's horrific, because we know he's a decent passer, is because the team just couldn't maintain possession. So people can dress it up how they want. That wasn't a good loan. So that's 2 lost years for Stefan Bajcetic. And his value from wherever it was at the end of 22-23 is now tanked. And we can't risk him going on another loan and completely burying his value. So it makes more sense for us to keep him in-house and try and restore his value with, I don't know, 300 minutes. It's not a good situation. There's also the fact that he had surgery at the end of last season and is injured again. So, none of these things are going to lead to clubs queuing up to give us the 20 million we thought we'd get for him. The other factor is he does count as a homegrown player for the UEFA quota, not the Premier League one because he's too young for that, but for the UEFA quota, he counts. And we need players who count towards that. So that's why he's staying. It's not because there's some grand plan. It's because we couldn't get the money we wanted for him. And ultimately, it makes more sense to keep him for the quota than send him out on another loan that might go badly. There's also got to be serious concerns about his future in terms of his health and his ability to stay fit. It's never a good thing when a 20-year-old has had 2 significant injuries.